Hi, I'm Neil Ward-Dutton and I work for IDC in Europe, leading our AI and our business automation practices. And in these weekly short videos, I'm talking about recent research we've done, conversations we've had, and ideas we're exploring. And after a couple of weeks off, I'm ready to get back into the swing of doing these videos. And this week, I want to start with a mild English rant about hyperautomation. If you follow trends in business automation, and if you're familiar with Gartner's research, you're probably familiar with the term hyperautomation, identified as one of Gartner's strategic technology trends for 2020. Now, I should start by saying that there's a fair bit of sense in the detail of what the company means when it talks about hyperautomation. The idea is that the concept of hyperautomation extends kind of regular automation in two dimensions. Firstly, it's about extending automation to embrace the use of multiple tools, not just, for example, RPA, but also the use of workflow, process automation, AI, and so on. And secondly, it's about applying technologies across the whole life cycle of automation projects. So not just the deployment of operational systems, but also discovery, analysis, and so on. Now, at this level, what we talk about at IDC when we talk about intelligent process automation is actually broadly similar. We talk about the importance of embracing a whole toolkit of automation technologies and approaches, for example. However, there are a couple of things that concern me. First is the name. Now, hyperautomation sounds kind of sexy, doesn't it? You might think of hyperspace or hyperdrive when you think of hyperautomation. But actually, hyper is a Greek origin prefix that actually means over. Think of hyperventilation, hyperinflation, hyperbola, hyperextension, hypertension, and so on. None of these things are good. Is Gartner encouraging organizations to over-automate? The truth is that all analysts, not just Gartner, certainly have a track record in this area. We can easily slip into a very technocentric view of the world, which assumes that just because a technology has promise, it should be used all the time, everywhere. But what we know from our research at IDC is that different use cases lend themselves to different approaches and different blends of tools. Most use cases are just not appropriate to automate end-to-end or top-to-bottom. Sometimes this is for very strategic reasons, sometimes for practical reasons, and very often because there's just no financial justification for doing so. What we also know from our research is that most firms are still in the early stages of automation maturity, particularly when it comes to RPA. And what organizations really need right now is more guidance that helps them figure out what blends of tools and approaches work best where, not some kind of techno-utopian hand-waving that encourages them to just do everything everywhere. Getting sensible answers might also be becoming harder. There are a lot of vendors picking this term up, quite understandably, but there's also too much of kind of, oh yes, hyperautomation, we do that. And the result is that the term has a definition that is rapidly disintegrating around the edges and really creating more opportunity for confusion. And this is not a solid foundation for success. So I'd encourage everyone, yes, of course, think about hyperautomation, look at it, but don't be tempted to think that this is about everything everywhere. We know that it's super important to actually focus much more on individual use cases and understand what combination of tools and approaches is going to work where and why. Thanks very much for watching. Let me know what you think. If you enjoyed this, let me know as always, and please like and share and subscribe, and I will see you soon. Cheers.